am Sophia, and today, in a likely attempt to make a fool of myself on the internet, I will be teaching you how to be hip, cool, and ready for something. Because what's better than acting like that mom trying to be relatable to her kids, becoming that mom trying to be relatable to her kids. So obviously, if you are going to become hip, cool, and ready for something, firstly, you are going to have to become hip. And then you're going to have to become cool. And lastly, you are going to have to become ready for something. So let's start with that. Obviously, hip is a word with two meanings. One meaning the literal body part, or two meaning someone who has given up on their 40s so they decide to go back to their 20s. Now that's more what I was envisioning, but if you feel the interest to become an actual hip, then I suppose that could work too. So obviously this group of hip people, 40-year-olds having midlife crises and going back to their 20s, were in their 20s in the 90s time frame, which makes for a very interesting era for hip people, because the 90s were a very interesting time. They were like a mix between the 80s and present with a load of bad clothing choices. So let's go pay homage to outdated clothing trends and get that hip look. So here you go. Here's a probable outfit of a hip person. Now this may not have been the general wear of people in their 20s in the 90s, but do keep in mind we are talking about people having full-on midlife crises here. So the younger they look, the better. They probably would be perfectly happy to look like a toddler, which is, in fact, what I look like. So let's go for a quick rundown of this outfit. We start off with the rainbow poncho, not for equality's sake, but rather because I believe I am an exotic fish and I have not yet attracted a mate, so I feel that maybe by wearing these bright colors, they may just come swimming at me. Or I may just feel like there's a lack of color in my life because I've spent the last 10 years wearing gray and looking like a mom. Then I've got some nice earrings with my emotional state on them, which of course is crazy because what else could I be? I mean, I'm hip. I'm crazy like all those youngins out there, jumping off of buildings. Then I've got a nice glitter tattoo, which I didn't even try to put on correctly because I neither care enough about my appearance to put in the time to do so, and also I'm old, so I do kind of feel a bit of concern over the health effects that come with putting glue on your face, but I still want to try to be hip and cool, Then some nice lip smackers attached to my fingers so that I can have it readily available to me if I ever feel like coating my lips with wax or smelling like the odor of watermelon wave. Then the classic paperclip bracelet, because I'm edgy. So that pretty much sums up the hip part. So now it's time to move on to the cool part, which is more of your physical and emotional state rather than your outwardly appearance, because it doesn't really matter. I mean, the aging body, it's really just a temple to the soul. So the first step to becoming cool is to sort of move with the flow of your spirit rather than the traditional constraining movements. You want to show the world that you don't give a shit, except you would not use such profanity because you may be trying to look like a rebellious teenager on the outside, but on the inside that you are really a 40-year-old mom with a lot of embarrassed children. So the next step to becoming cool is to sort of just sit on everything and hum melodically to yourself. You may just be doing this because your arthritis is flaring up, but people will think that you're at one with yourself, which tends to be considered as very cool. So the last and probably most important step to becoming cool is to rarely leave your house. Rarely. On occasion it's fine, but this sort of gives a sense of mystery to you, which is very cool, and also may make people think that you may have died alone in your house and been eaten by your cat, which also sounds pretty cool. So now that you're hip and cool, there's only one step left, being ready to go, which is pretty simple. You just gotta coat your lips with as much wax as is humanly possible, and then strut out the door with that spiritual flow, and then leave. You've got to walk out of that midlife crisis with a bang. So, there you go. That's how to be hip, cool, and ready to go. Yeah, there was that. And I hope that if you want to be hip, cool, and ready to go, you go do it right now. This video only took me 3 days to film, but yeah. And if you want to, you should subscribe, and I will see you later.